Yes, yes. What a pleasure it is to be here today. My name is Chase Steele Gray. If you've never seen me before, it is a pleasure to see you. And I'm sure whoever brought you to this huddle loves you dearly because we're all about love, togetherness, and insights here on the Daily Huddle. Today, we have a repeat guest. And as I said before, I don't know how many times we could have her here and finish up. This topic is so great. It's so necessary for all of us. Her name is Barbara Ann Michaels, and I'm going to tell you a little bit something about her before we get started because I want you to know. I want you to know who we're putting in front of you, and this is definitely one of our golden guests. Barbara Ann Michaels, Reverend Barbara Ann Michaels, Jester of the Peace, is a performance artist, ordained interfaith minister creating participatory experiences on humor and wellness. I love that sentence. She playfully draws on familiar rituals of society, weddings, voting, telephone calls, parades, holidays, and more, leading people from around the world to be seen, heard, celebrated, and connected as they express themselves in fun or seriousness or both in the moment. When put together, her interactive activations and installations form a whole town for community self-expression. Her mission is to put humor back in the medicine cabinet for generations to come. She collaborates with cultural, corporate, and community groups and institutions around the world. Humor is human. Welcome back to the Daily Huddle.
Thank you. Thank you, Chase. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you, everyone, for being here in this wonderful conversation about humor as a central part of being a human being. I like to call it, we got the human condition, and I like to call it the humor condition.
I don't think I've ever heard the humor condition. I really enjoyed that, actually. I'll be saying that today to somebody. Because I don't know if people watched the last episode and like to connect where we left off, just taking the title today, saying is humor sacred, in my personal opinion, stimulates a whole world of thoughts, right? When I think of the word sacred, I think of something that we hold very dear and very delicate, and we deal with it in a specific fashion. So when we speak about humor, something that we are all connected to, we laugh. I hope we laugh several times a day. The harsh reality is that we don't. I definitely laughed several times a day, for sure. But when we say is humor sacred, give us a short definition or a piece of that. It doesn't even have to be short, but open that up for the layman ear, if you will.
Yes, thank you. So as we shared in the introduction, I have a whole town full of experiences. So some examples of that are, we'll have a marriage bureau where you marry a part of yourself. We're thinking about humor and wellness. So all these experiences are about people expressing themselves and feeling an uplift. There's a post office where you can write love letters to clear your heart. There is a phone company where you call yourself on the phone and tell yourself everything you've been holding back, which is funny and also serious. And so all the parts of the town. The congregation of the town, because I am an ordained interfaith minister, I'm not a member of any particular religion, I put forth humor, art, and love as a spiritual path if someone is spiritually inclined, or as a life path if someone is atheist. Everyone's welcome. And I call it the House of Holy Humor. Now, I have gotten pushback on using the word holy, considering it's a non-religious congregation. It's a non-religious congregation for humor, art, and love. So why am I using the word holy? I'm doing that partly because it makes 3 H's in a row, and House of Holy Humor is fun to say, but also to be a conversation starter, because humor is the great underappreciated force of human connection. If anybody feels separate, alone, disengaged from themselves, from the world, from things that they care about. I've often heard people say, I just don't know where I am. I've lost myself. I don't enjoy the things I used to enjoy. Humor, art, and love are the great reconnectors of the human spirit every time. However, in that trifecta of humor, art, and love, if we say, hey, humanity, is love sacred? People are like, yep, love is sacred. Absolutely. Go love. Love is sacred every day. If I say, is art sacred? Well, is art sacred? Well, art is it's a practice. It's an art form. Art is an art form. It's a way that people can express their feelings. Is it sacred? Does it create vital reconnection with ourselves and the mystery of life? To me, art absolutely creates vital reconnection with the mystery of life. Humor, is humor sacred? Well, I'm not funny, I'm not a comedian. So if we say I'm not funny, I'm not a comedian, or I'm not creative, I can't draw, which are two of the things I so often hear about humor and art when we're addressing this question of are humor and art sacred? Well, my response to is art sacred is, well, is creativity sacred? Have you or have you not invented every moment of your life so far? Because people will say to me, I'm not creative, I can't draw, as if creativity is drawing. Creativity
Right.
is life. Creativity
Right.
is invention.
Correct.
And then with humor, it's I'm not funny, I'm not a comedian. So if the only available access to having humor in our lives is being a professional stand-up comedian on the stage, we're impeding wellness, when in reality, the great reconnectors of the human spirit are humor, art, and love. And so this is why I call it the non-religious congregation, the House of Holy Humor, to get this conversation started about, is humor sacred? Does it create vital reconnection with ourselves, each other, and the mystery of life, which inherently fills the world with curiosity and courage?
Wow. That's why I have you here on this call. What you just did is exactly why you're here. You just covered a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, go
That
jump
was
in,
really clear. No, that was
jump
really
in, Hayes. But pick up
you
any part of
verbally crop dusted the entire thing. Thank you.
that.
So I find humor fascinating, and I'm glad that you're here to talk about this. Just yesterday, I was looking at a small snippet of about Kevin Hart and how this one person can fill a stadium, not a club, not a little theater in your downtown area, a stadium. If that doesn't completely affirm that people need to laugh, I don't know what does. You're going to a stadium to see one guy walk on a stage. He's not singing, he's not dancing, he's just talking. There's funny people everywhere, right?
Yes,
So I was looking at that and I was thinking about you, and I was like, wow, yes, humor is sacred because we have to laugh. There's somebody in that audience or several people who had two bills to pay, except they spent the 250 to go see Kevin Hart. Think about that, right? Oh, I'll figure out those bills later. I'm in a crazy place. I need to laugh. Oh my God, I need something. And Kevin did that for them, and they walked away laughing without their phones, by the way, because Kevin doesn't allow phones at his concert. And I thought that was really interesting. And I study comedy. I mean, like you said, it was a sentence that you said that I wanted you to repeat, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said something like the three connectors of, what did you say? The three connectors of life?
the great reconnectors of the human spirit.
Of the
Whenever,
human spirit.
in my experience as a human being, for the decades that I've been able to be here, which is miraculous, I have noticed that every time I feel down, separate, depressed, stuck, alone, unsure, if I turn to art or love or humor, I will always feel reconnected absolutely reliably. And that is why I represent them as either a spiritual practice or a life path, depending if someone has spiritual proclivities or is atheist. As I said, everyone's welcome. Everyone has to deal with the mystery of life. Nobody gets to be alive without addressing the mystery of life in some way. However, someone does that, in my view, as long as whatever that is, has someone be a better person, kinder to themselves and others, great. Whatever that is great. So in terms of this sacredness, it's so precious. This idea of sacredness, it's like it's so precious, something that we can't live without, something that informs the choices that we make, something that has us feel our inherent aliveness and the beauty and mystery of being a person. And there's so much fascination, mystery, surprise, delight, restoration, healing imbued in humor, art, and love that I greatly desire. This is why I say I want to put humor back in the medicine cabinet. Humor was already in the medicine cabinet. Art, expression, creativity, and playfulness, they're already in the medicine cabinet of the human condition.
Right.
However, we want to restore the humor condition where we get to journey with humor, art, and love every day as pathways, tools, friends for every day of our lives, which is what we're meant to do.
You know, as you speak, and in the beginning of the presentation, I was thinking about the fact that how bizarre is it that most humor originates as pain,
Mhm.
right? It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like they should go together, right? Chris Rock has a concert called Laugh at My Pain, I believe. Was that Kevin Hart? One of them have a concert called Laugh at My Pain. I was like, brilliant. That's a brilliant title because that's what you're doing. You're talking about, Kevin was talking about his process, and he said, I'm bringing you into my life. There's so much funny stuff in my life. I'm just telling you some stories. None of this is made up. This is all real. And I was thinking, people looking at him going, oh, you're a multimillionaire. You're walking on stages, giving jokes. Like, how hard could your life be? He has a real life like a regular human being. Sometimes his wife gets on his nerves. Sometimes he wants to throw his kids across the room. Sometimes he's got to spend too much money. You know, it's real stuff. And I always find, isn't that interesting? When I think of funny, I just think of funny. Like, oh my God, that's so funny. I don't think about the pain part of it until I dissect it properly. And I'm like, oh, like what you said, that wasn't funny when it happened, but it sure is funny now. When I look back at it, like, wow, that's really funny that I
And
did that.
that's when it's funny now. So we can go back to this two different frames.
Mhm.
One of them is expression, because you were saying I don't usually think of pain and joy in the same spot. The end, you laugh until you cry until you laugh.
Mm.
The best laughter is, have you laughed until you cried? Oh my God, I laughed until I cried. It's
Oh, definitely.
the premiere. And it's the same the other way. I cried until I laughed, and that's when you're free. Um, so the something difficult happens. It's from the comedy industry. Too soon, too soon, too soon, too soon, too soon for laughter. Then the little first laugh happens. Could be so small. We can remember that. However tiny. Put space around the pain. The heart has hope. We know that healing is underway, even if it's going to be a really long journey. And then when the stories get to the point where we feel better, here are the visceral, physical, bodily hallmarks of how we know that our story is ready to help somebody else. When we tell that story, instead of wincing through the pain and pretending it's funny, or using humor as a distraction, or being like, I wish this was funny, but I really feel terrible inside, but I'm faking it. I'm fronting that it's humorous. I'm using this. I don't want to feel this, so I'm going to make jokes about it or laugh at it. When we move from laughing at the situation as a distraction to laughing with the situation, when we're laughing with the situation, we're laughing with our experience, with ourselves, because at is divisive and with is connective. That's when we can help other people with the story. So these are the visceral hallmarks. Do my eyes get bright? Do my eyes start to get shiny when I tell the story? And am I genuinely enjoying telling the story? Does
Right.
my face start to shine? Do I have genuine, easy laughter when I tell this story?
Mhm.
And this is the biggest one, and this is both internal and external, because you can see it on someone's face, which is why this project I have called Circus of the Heart, it's about interviewing people about those stories that were hard then that are funny now. When we are freely laughing and feel better, when I feel better, when I tell my story, that's when I can help somebody else, because I've gone from the first laugh into the humor condition. And as soon as I can freely laugh with my story, someone else can catch hope from me. Just like we can catch stress off of someone's stress, we can catch hope from other people's hope, we can catch resilience from other people's resilience. It's the same thing, based on that. It's not that we have humor and we have sadness, we have expression. However much humor, however much sadness, however much humor, however much sadness. So the bigger our channel, the more we can handle. And it's important to keep in mind that the process of finding humor with our stories is natural and normal. It's not something we're doing in these modern times. It's not the latest thing. It's not the most recent strategy. It's an ancient part of being a person. I will often say that humor is the harbinger of healing. That doesn't mean that every story we have is going to find humor. And so I'll put my hand on my heart right now for all of the stories that will not find humor in this lifetime, mine and other people's. I put my hand on my heart for all of the stories that will not find humor in our generation, and only maybe in future generations. However, everything that hurts wants to heal. And humor is the harbinger of that healing, which is why anybody ever in human history made jokes about war, which is terrible all the time.
Did you use the word harbinger?
I did use the word harbinger. Humor is the harbinger of healing, meaning when humor
Great.
arises naturally, we can't push it. You can't force open a flower. However, it will arise naturally. And one of the things that I deeply recommend is to get with people and tell each other our stories that were hard then that are funny now, because you never know what someone is dealing with or what someone in someone else's world is dealing with. And when we can share our resilient, hopeful, now funny stories with the humor, this is why people listen to nightly news broadcasts by comedians to get their news every day. There's a whole bunch of people who primarily get news from late night comedy shows.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to ask you a kind of a wild card question. It just came to me, and I want to see what you think about it. It's totally outside the box. It can be a very short answer if you want, whatever you want.
Okay.
I was watching Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle is always being attacked for speaking about trans people, the way he says it. In your personal opinion, do you think, using your words, it's too soon to make many jokes about trans people?
There are trans people making jokes about the experience of being a trans person.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Right.
It's everything. It's personal.
Right.
It's if I whatever it is that has caused pain in my life is available for humor. That doesn't mean it's going to find humor.
Right. Exactly.
And the other thing to note is the most important thing is that it's funny to the person who's telling the story about them, their own self and their own experience. If I find that I have a story about being ridiculous in love, just ridiculous, just falling all over myself in love about some situation, some person, and making some choices that if I had the choice again, I might make a different one, whatever it is that I've done. When I find humor with that, I can tell that story and laugh and feel free. And if I'm speaking to another person, they can either catch hope from me or they might not, because if they have a situation in their life that's not funny on that related topic, or they're still in their pain about it, they might not be able to hear my joyful release and resilience about it. But that doesn't change its truth for me. And so when I find freedom with my own stories, I can be the messenger for other people who are reaching for hope about that thing. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a messenger of hope for everyone. It means I'm going to be the messenger for people who are reaching for hope about the same thing. And it's really important to just own our own resilience and not take it personally if someone else isn't ready to hear our freedom. Because
and that's a great
people who do, because if you're the messenger, you got to deliver the message. Not everyone, you don't have a message for everybody, but if you have a message, if you have a story to tell, someone else needs to hear it. And so it's not a clean and clear thing, but it's a vital thing.
Yeah, I believe that humor is one of the greatest vehicles to deliver something from point A to point B. Right? I just believe that fully. I was thinking the other day about this topic, and I was thinking about from when I was a young boy, my father, from now until then, I can't have one conversation with him without laughing about something he says in a very normal way. He's just laughing, and I'm laughing. And I think that really helped me as I was growing up, right? My dad always says to me, hey, and Sorrel, we're going to get to your question right after this. He always says to me, hey, how are you? I'm doing well. Everything good? Good. I'm wearing a black shirt with a brown tie, and I'm on the Boca Pier. I'm like, Dad, I didn't ask you where you were. He goes, I'm just letting you know. He does it to this day. I'm telling you, it's the funniest thing ever. And it's so little and it's so like minute, but he does it all the time. And I'm like, why does he do that? It's brilliant. Like that helped the journey along the way. You know, he's like, I'm wearing these glasses. I can't give them to you. What? I didn't ask you about the glasses. It's hilarious. I love it. But I just wanted to say that because I think that becomes sacred to me. That becomes, something serious. Anyway,
If you were speaking with him and he did not tell you where he was, what he was wearing, and whether or not his wardrobe was available to you, something would be missing.
yes.
And
But then I do it. That's what's funny.
Yeah. Do you do it?
Yeah, I do it. I do it when he doesn't do it.
Right now. Do it right now. Hello, Chase.
I'll be like, my dad's like, hey, Chase, how you doing? I'm like, Dad, how are you? I'm wearing a blue shirt with a black tie, and it's the tie you like. And he would go, it's beautiful. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. What was I thinking when I gave you that tie? He goes right to it like that. It's awesome.
So when you and your father exchange this information, which is somewhat unimportant, however, it's what you chose to wear that day, and it's how you chose to decorate yourself for the world today. So it actually is important. It's both significant and not significant. What are you really doing?
Oh, to me, we're playing with reality. We are massaging the moment in the proper way so that we can remain buoyant between ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. And you're doing one other thing too, in addition to this. Yes. And you have an inside joke. So you have an inside joke about what you're wearing and where you're standing and whether or not the other person can borrow what you have on. Inside jokes, as soon as you have an inside joke with someone else, you have a special language that only the two of you have. Because if you were speaking to someone else, if you called me on the phone and said, hey, Barbara, I'm wearing a blue shirt and a black tie, and I'm standing in wherever I'm standing.
Nothing.
I say like, okay, Chase, that's great. Like, cool. Okay. But it doesn't have that. It doesn't mean I love you. It doesn't mean I'm with you. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean I'm your family. That's what it means when you two do that. You have an inside joke that you can't necessarily explain to other people. You explained it to me and I started laughing because I can feel the inside joke of it, but that doesn't mean I'm in on the joke. So if we're in a group of people, whether we're presenting to a professional group or at a family reunion or with a group of friends, as soon as we can create a positive inside joke, and this is really the thing, a positive inside joke where we're laughing with each other, not at each other, because it's also possible to use humor to divide. You are laughing with each other about your tie. It's not like there's a tie. Why are you wearing that tie? That's a ridiculous tie. Why would you do that? It's like, there's no, it's like, I can't even see it. And I know it looks good. So as soon as you create a laughing with inside joke with any group of people, that group of people will feel instantly more bonded together because now they have a private language. And a private language, it's not the same as an exclusive thing that leaves everyone else out. This is a way that we bond. This is why people like secret handshakes. It's why people like secret passwords. It's why you can, if you say I had a friend and we had an inside joke about blue turtles, I'd be like, blue turtle. And the other person would be like, that's so it's a blue turtle. Nobody else understands that. But between us, it means I'm with you. I'm your friend. I love you. You're safe. I've got your heart. It means so much. And so to embrace creating inside jokes is another thing to do in addition to telling each other our stories that were hard then that are funny now.
I love it. Sorrel, please, if you would, sir. Sorry for the wait. We go on a tangent. We love it.
I love the jester of the piece. Jester of the piece.
Yes.
Please, because you used the term the humor condition.
Yes.
Several times. So I get the sense that it's something that you invented.
Yes.
And it has a specific meaning. When you say it, it creates a whole world. I'd love for you to clarify that world for us. Could you say, what is the humor condition? And then the second part to the question would be, how does that apply in business interactions?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the humor condition is a play on the human condition, just like Jester of the Piece is a play on Justice of the Peace. Because I got the name Jester of the Peace when I was a wedding officiant doing costume weddings and helicopter weddings. And a friend of mine said, well, you're a clown and a minister. You should be the Jester of the Peace. I said, you are correct. I should be. And even though I'm not a full-time wedding officiant anymore, I still keep the name because it means humor for humanity. It means jovialness for peacefulness. It means it means what I stand for. So I keep it as an artist. So that's where that name comes from. And the humor condition is a play on the human condition, reminding us that being humorous and playful is inherent to the human condition. It's baked in. It's not something we have to reach for or learn. We are humorous. Babies laugh. Everybody laughs in the same language. Laughter doesn't sound different in different languages. It's not you don't laugh in a dialect. You just laugh. It's a physiological thing. So that's where that comes from and what it's for. And in terms of okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened at a professional conference. Inside jokes are really, really good for business teams, positive ones. So I was teaching a group of facilitators at a creativity conference. And it was people who did executive coaching, and they would use humor for, they were basically using creativity for a business purpose, either doing organizational development or whatever it was going to be, executive coaching, whatever. So I was leading this workshop about what I'd learned about humor and body language from clown theater. And a gentleman named Mark Milhone said, I want to come to your workshop, but I have to leave early. And I said, okay, you can leave early. Since this is a workshop on this topic, you can leave early as long as you leave as obviously as possible. Because usually people want to sneak out the back. Like, I got to leave early. I won't make a fuss. In this case, Mr. Mark Milhone, I said, leave as obviously as possible. And he's so on it, right? What he did is, in the middle of my presentation, he and his little rolly bag walked in front of me, like right in front of me, pretending I wasn't even there, and got all the attention of everyone. And this is what happened next. What happened is, as he was going across, everyone, of course, is tracking with him. No one is listening to me because he did a really good job of what I asked him to do. He goes to the elevator, at least half of the room jumps out of their chairs, runs to the elevator, runs after him, presses all the elevator buttons. So it's going to be really difficult for him to get to the bottom floor, to get his flight. They're breathless, they're laughing, they come back, they're sitting there in their chairs, just like bedazzled by their own mischievousness. And this is where you take a beat, right? This is what happened. I got super quiet and I just said, I'd like to remind you all that this is a professional conference. And the whole room just went, whoosh, just like everybody just was just laughing, just poof, exploded because they all understood. And I said, what is possible now professionally that this has happened? What is available to us in terms of play, collaboration, leadership? What is available to us because this has occurred? So from a business perspective, the absolute best time to say something super serious is right after people have laughed. Because when people have laughed, they're open, their defenses are down. And I mean that in a positive way. They're listening, they're available. If you land the most important thing that you have to say in a business environment right after you create some laughter in the room, people will hear it. They won't be spaced out during that because their attention is fresh. And it's also possible to make really dynamic things happen. Inside jokes are super important. So that became an inside joke. Another example of this is at another conference, I was speaking to a similar group of people doing executive coaching and organizational development and stuff like that. And I had a sign, and I just wrote on it, "This is a sign." And what happened from that is people started planting little signs all around the conference that said "sign." It was this big of a sign, this big of a sign. Someone wrote the word "sign" on an orange and put it where I was going to find it. Somebody put the word "sign" on a little sign on the stage so that it got recorded into the official conference videos. And they just started playing around. And they did that because they were affirming who they were as a community in a positive, joyful way. Not everybody else understood it. Why are all these little signs that said "sign"? I don't even think that the video that got created with that has a little word "sign" in it, I don't even think the people who created the video would even ever notice. But we saw it. And so it was the community showing itself, community joy. And you can create those things in a professional environment. More learning, more connection, and more business will happen. People want to work with people who feel like friends, and friendship is made of humor, art, and love. And so the more you can create humor, art, and love in a business environment, people want to work with people who feel like friends. People impede business by being overly serious at work. Does that address some of what you're thinking about?
Amazing. Amazing.
I love the humor condition.
The humor condition. It is what we are. And to the degree that humor's gotten stuck on the entertainment shelf and we've forgotten that, or we have an idea that it's too soon for humor about anything, which is never true, because whatever hurts is looking to heal, and humor is a harbinger of healing. Like I said before, that doesn't mean all our stories are going to find humor. Hand on the heart for those that won't. And there's so much available. I can tell other stories. One of the things that happens is that people can hold themselves back and not do something because something bad happened and they haven't been able to free themselves. Chase, do I have time to tell another quick
I
story?
want to get to Gio really quickly because he's had his hand up. See what I mean? We can't ever end this topic. I love it. This is you. We're going to just keep bringing you back and keep bringing
All
it
right.
through. Let's hear from Gio. Gio, go right ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here, Barbara. And I was thinking of this dichotomy, of this aspect, which I enjoy a lot. I like humor, and I naturally every now and then I create humor for myself and others. And sometimes when I watch Netflix or I watch anything, I appreciate the space that a comedian creates where I like how you said it, whatever hurts is looking to heal. And I was looking at this guy, this very young guy, Matt something Rally or something. He was saying he was making fun with people who have Down syndrome, and in fact his audience more and more are people with Down syndrome and people who have incapacities, and he's going at it in a really awful way, and they're all laughing, and not laughing at them, laughing with them.
Yep.
And I think, man, that is art. I'm thinking that is art, because I wouldn't have dared to say some of those things. I find them inappropriate, but I love how it creates this space for healing. But however, while you were speaking, I was thinking there is an artful way to create humor at work, because absent of the right context, there's nothing more offensive than someone who's trying to be funny at something that is not funny for many. And so I don't know if there's a question or a comment, but I find that you have this intellectual wisdom to be able to create that in a professional environment. And I'm afraid most people don't. And they leave a lot of people hurt and disempowered they're just too sensitive behind that context. So they're just too sensitive. Anyway, what are your comments on that?
Thank you for bringing up you're just too sensitive. You're too sensitive comes up when someone's laughing at someone, not with them. Because that, and it's not that there's never a reason to use laughing at. We can't have it be 100%. Every once in a while, it's the right thing to do for whatever reason in a context, because it shakes up the energy or whatever. In general, if we're laughing with each other, just think about this. Let's just go back to childhood. Think about this on the playground. They were laughing at me, and what that feels like. It's so isolating. Versus they were laughing with me, and how unifying that is. No amount of being alive longer on the earth is going to ever change the fact that we have little kid hearts and that feel the difference between laughing at and laughing with. No matter how much technology we have, the human heart is never going to work any differently in 500 years. And every avatar has a person behind it looking for love. So the more we can lean into laughing with each other and just take that on as an inquiry and a practice. This does not mean that humor always is successful, because humor does fail. But when humor fails in a context of seeking to laugh with each other, then we can mend it. If humor fails in a context of laughing at each other, it was a bit divisive before it even began. And so to have this inquiry, how can I laugh? How can I collaborate with this person laughing about the situation, versus I'm going to make fun of that. It's not the same thing. Does that?
No, I wasn't asking a question necessarily. I was just being in conversation with you.
Yeah.
It seems to me that many people need therapy to make the transition from wherever they are to take themselves lightly. And yeah, anyway, Chase, thank you. I know it's way past beyond the usual
Oh
time.
yeah, well, you know, this is our Jester of the Peace residency, so don't worry, we're gonna have her back again. We just can't get to the ends. We always got something else to say. It's great, but thank you all, and thank you, Barbara, for being with us today. It's wildly stimulating, this topic, and I believe we definitely need more of it. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here with us. To all the rest of us that are here today, please remember to love more than you are right now. Please remember to live out loud, push everything up a little bit more in your heart, in your aspirations. Remember to move the body, because moving the body will help us be more fluid and create so many magical things you have no idea, right? Eat mostly plant-based if you can. If you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. See how it makes you feel. Don't push it away if you've never done it before. Check it out. Sleep a little bit more than you've slept before. If you're sleeping 4, go to 6. If you're sleeping 5, go to 8. Make time for that and watch your body change in the midst of that. Make sure to stress less. I recommend coming here every day. This is a great stress reliever. I'm not saying that just for myself. We have so many great people that make this go together the right way. And also, please check yourself before you wreck yourself. Have a spectacular day and create a positive day on purpose. You can do it. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Ashe, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Chase.
Pleasure-
Thank you,
pleasure
family.
to be here. Thank you.